Yeah, as far as reps go, we've really, we've repped them equally. They're both getting reps with the ones and the twos with both groups. Both guys bring a different skill set to the position. I think that's the best thing about what they've done is each guy makes the offense his own. You know what I mean? That as you go through it, it's not black and white. Sometimes there's some things where this throw was good, but this throw might have been better. And based off of your talent, sometimes you need to know which one um, fits you. And so both of those guys have done a great job of that, and both have led the first huddle and the second huddle, to their best.
Yeah, you said so. They are different players. Then, like, can you talk maybe some specifics that make them, different?
Right. Both of them got a ton of arm talent. So that's
Yeah.
been the thing that's pleased us the most is just the ability for certain throws in the offense to be a weapon for us again. Certain throws that a lot of college defensive coordinators don't think, college quarterbacks can make. We have the ability to do that with both of those guys. And then, uh, that they both bring it in that they both have great arm talent and they're really pretty similar. I think more than anything, they're different personality wise. They're, Weston Eget he's a little more, I wouldn't say he's a loud guy, but he's a little more outward towards the guys. And he's always, um, being heard and a little more vocal. Whereas, Jonah's a little more to himself. He's just naturally a kind of reserved guy. He's not going to be too high or too low. And so they both bring a different dynamic to the huddle.
And obviously they're different, like, stature of players. So what is that like? Is Jonah something that Coach Martin has talked about was just his mobility potentially? Like, um, what, like,
Right.
they're different body types. So are they, like, how is that playing the what your offense wants to do with
Yeah,
it?
they are. I think that's the thing. Jonah definitely has the ability to be a more mobile guy. He ran the option in high school, and then kind of went through two different offenses at his time at Fresno City. And he ran a more pro style and he ran a more spread system. But the thing with Jonah too, even though he has the ability to run, he's a passer number one, and I think that's evident. He's a guy who likes to be in the pocket. He can make plays out of it, but he loves to be standing tall and get the ball out on time. And Weston knows that's his game. He can definitely get out of the pocket and make some plays. When he does get out of the pocket, he does a great job of keeping his eyes downfield. He's had a couple of plays this spring where he has done just that. He's been mobile in the pocket, and then once he's out of it, he's finding guys downfield and really kind of what I call point guarding that thing where you spread the ball around. You're not necessarily looking for you to score, but give those assists out.
When you say you mentioned arm talent and you played the position in a similar offense, so, like, what does that mean when you say that for this offense?
Yeah, for this offense, it goes to a lot of the throws that are, push the ball down the field a little bit more. That maybe what we call a whole shot, a throw that can, fit in before a safety gets there in a cover two scheme, or maybe even, outs to the field, comebacks to anywhere. So that's something that both those guys definitely bring. And then on top of that, the ability to find different arm angles, to throw a sidearm when you need to, especially, throwing shallows and things like that. Sometimes you don't have clean lanes and you got to create your own lane or find an angle that, some guys can't make by just, getting their front shoulder lined up. You don't get that opportunity all the time. And so you got to be able to improvise. And both of those guys, honestly, do it really well.
When you're throwing down the field, the practice that I went to when I was able to see some live stuff, like, I thought both guys threw 50-50 balls. Like, I mean, they actually gave the receiver a chance to make a play. Is that, at this level, is that pretty much all you can ask for those down the field throws?
No doubt, no doubt. And that's what we kind of preach to those guys is, anything that overthrows or goes out of bounds is ultimately a long foul ball, in baseball terms, that it looks pretty. And then, in the end, it results in nothing. If anything, you lose it down, you get a strike. So those guys have both embraced that. Look, we have skill guys who can make plays. The key is going to be giving them the opportunity to make plays. And that's something, the last couple of years we struggled with a little bit. We haven't been able to haul in that vertical passing game. And that was a big emphasis for us moving forward was we got to find a way to complete those balls and to keep, defensive coordinators honest because they haven't for the last couple of years, they've kind of been able to dictate terms to us as opposed to the other way around.
So I wouldn't say predictable, but has your offense just limited, maybe? Is that a better way to say what it's been like the last couple of years?
It wasn't extremely limited, but I know Coach Martin as a play caller, there are certain things you feel great about, and certain things you call knowing that you had better calls. And so I think based off of our spring so far, he feels good calling whatever he wants to call with these guys, and that they're going to execute it at a high level. So. It's very similar offense, and that's the same. And like we said, where Weston and Jonah can make the same offense look a slightly different. It's the same thing, that when Josh was here, he made it look a little different. So it's the same offense, just a few little tweaks, and each guy kind of finds his niche within that system.
Weston is here. I think Weston's been here longer, right? Mm-hmm. So what did you, during the pandemic, when it was apparent that you weren't going to play season, what did you tell Weston to do, and what did you tell Jonah to do before you guys came back?
Right. Well, for Weston, it was big about just maturing physically. He's still pretty young. I don't even know if he's 20 years old yet, and he's 18 or 19 now. He, so that was something that we told him, which was naturally going to come. He did a great job. He's, his weight's up to, he's probably 225, 230 pounds right now, and most importantly, he's stronger, which is is going to come with age too. That was the challenge of the COVID quarantine that we were in, and being separated was getting them film and getting them to watch. And, luckily, with programs such as Zoom and things like that, we did our best. But really you had to put a lot on those guys to be grown up, be professional, and do the work on their own. And so I think that's where I was really pleased with those guys, is they have a structure back home of they have a network and structure that they can go to gyms and facilities, at people's homes and, basements, and they were able to stay in shape and throw. I don't think they skirted the rules, but Weston has little brothers and an older brother who are football players, so he was able to, kind of get out in the backyard and keep getting better, even though the options were limited.
Mm-hmm. And for Jonah, was there anything specific? I remember I talked to him, and he just wanted to learn the offense, get a better idea of the offense. I don't know, like is that what you wanted him to do? Just getting the playbook?
It's almost tougher with a guy like Jonah who just got here, and you have plans on how you kind of go through your spring install and how you teach, because there's so many different layers to this. There's knowing us, and there's knowing defenses, and there's terminology of what we may call a defense, so that he comes in and he's not calling the Sam linebacker or nickel linebacker, and just those little things that disrupt communication. You can kind of fix those, but at the same time, if he doesn't get hands-on, it's hard for a lot of those lessons to really to lock in. And so that was the task, was to try to find a way to speed that process up, even though we weren't in person. And ultimately, there are just limitations to that when you don't have people on the field, you don't have 3D objects moving through space. And so that's been the thing. We were able to get a couple of fall practices in, which, we went against a defense that was lined up 30 yards away. So there was that aspect of 3D to it, but it wasn't a realistic look. And so we kind of pieced together, Zoom meetings, virtual meetings, the practices on the field. When we did have a chance to get together, whiteboard talk, and really just any avenue we could use to let those lessons hit home, we tried to use, and I think it worked well.
Yeah, once you guys put pads on and started actually having some contact and guys flying around, or at least around them, not hitting them maybe, but did either one of them exceed expectations once it was live, or did it kind of take them back, take some adjusting, you think?
No, I think they really were what we expected. And I think that's the great thing is Weston had been here. And so we kind of, even though he hasn't never played for us, we knew what to expect. We've seen him and how he approaches the game, how he approaches practices. And so we had a pretty good idea of what he was going to be as a player when the full pads came on. Jonah was, we didn't know. It was up in the air because, like you said, you could be in helmets and throwing with the defense 30 yards away, and everyone looks pretty good. Whenever there's live fire coming, sometimes it changes. But you've got to talk with Jonah, he's not a guy that's ever going to be too high or too low, which is what you want out of quarterbacks. And so we didn't know what to expect, and he's been a pleasant surprise in that regard, that he is the same person off the field as he is on the field. So there's a level of consistency there that you can expect.
So I was talking to Coach Martin the other night, and he said that I don't know if he's going to start the same guy for both games, but like he wants to give one guy one game, and he wants to give a quarterback a game, so he's not constantly pulling guys in and out or whatever at that spot. What do you guys want to see from these guys in these games when they are out there on the field? Like, are you deciding like main reps for fall camp, or is that going to be a competition too? Or like, what do you need to see out of these guys in these games?
Right. I think that'll be determined, to be honest with you. It's we have so many moving parts, I think, on this football team, and I can really only speak for our offense, in particular, in that, we have a handful of returners, but we have a lot of guys who have never played it down for us. And so I think how we treat this will kind of be a fluid situation as we move forward. But I do know we want to give whoever it is a chance to come in, in a game and beat a guy, and not think, okay, I got to drive or I got a quarter, because it's hard to find a rhythm. It's hard to find a flow to the game. And so I think that's definitely something when he decides who he wants, then, he's going to go all in, and then hopefully we can allow whoever doesn't get to play in the second game, and so that we can both give them an equal opportunity to approach the game, without having to think about, okay, which drive do I have or which quarter do I have? And then from there, I think, it's a little early to answer anything before we get any true game film. But, obviously the game film, as we say, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. And so once that film comes on, we'll have a really good idea of, how we'll approach the fall.
How much to what you guys need to do this? And you guys have had times where the quarterback's thrown the ball a lot during the course of a game. It seemed like the last couple of years, maybe the running game was a little bit more important, and if it wasn't there, it was more difficult. Like, do you feel like you can go back to throwing the ball 50 times a game, or do you need that
Right.
running game and that offensive line to keep them honest at least?
Yeah, no, both are important. I think it's, in the same regard as who will play. It's hard to say what you're going to do until you see defenses and how they decide to play you. I know the past couple of years we've thrown it a little more, especially in 2017, and so I think teams viewed us as more of an air raid team, and so as air raid teams you get sometimes a different look on defense than you plan for all week, and so in that regard, you want your run game to be a threat so that you can continue to see on game day what you saw preparing for, because that can be a different task in teaching quarterbacks and preparing them for a week, and then something totally different pop up on game day. So when you can have both of those sides of the game working for you, then I think it definitely helps. It helps us game plan. It helps quarterbacks expect coverages. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you got to be able to do both.
How do they feel with this group of receivers? Because like you said, I think Rob is really the only consistent guy from a stats reception standpoint. Like, there's guys back, but I know you have a lot of new pieces out there. How has that gone in practice, getting that chemistry down or whatever?
It's been good. Like you said, Rob has been our main returner as far as if you looked at the stat line, and Jared White also returned from last year. And Jared, I think, had a couple of touchdowns and had a couple of more opportunities and a couple of big third down catches for us. And so having, Jared back and Rob, who's a level of consistency too, I think there's two guys right there we're comfortable with, and we know what they are on a game day. And then we have other guys, a freshman, Jadarian Smith, who's been a surprise and is playing really well. Cole Harity, a junior college transfer from Saddleback, who again, is a tough guy who is going to contribute. And then Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, he's been a surprise too. He's a great player. And so, when you look at it, I think we're in a good position. Like you said, I don't think those guys will change on game day. I don't think they're, a set of guys will go out with big wide eyes and lose track of where it's been. They played in a lot of big games at Saddleback. And Jadarian being from, Texas, they've played in some big playoff football games. So I think those guys will show up and be what we think they are.
That's all I had for you, Chase. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too.